from the Fiction Fairy, and today I'm bringing you my July wrap-up and my Booktube-A-Thon wrap-up done into one. I didn't want to make two separate videos because I figured that they would kind of almost be repetitive of each other, so I decided to just make one huge one. Now, this is my second time recording it, and the first time my camera cut off because it was longer than 20 minutes, so I am going to try to move rather quickly through these. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the books. However, each one of these books is going to have a review up on the channel at some point between now and September as I get them recorded and put up. So if you want to know any of my detailed thoughts about them, look out for those videos so you can go and check them out. So first I'm going to start off with my Booktube-A-Thon books, and I will put the total amount of pages that I read during Booktube-A-Thon at the end, and I will notate that for you guys. So first it was The Challenge, a book with red on the cover, and I read The Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and I believe this is by Jeff Kinney, and this was just a cute, fun book about kids, young kids in school, and the cheese touch, and it just made me laugh hilariously, and I really, really loved it. So thumbs up for that one, definitely would recommend it. The next book that I read was for the challenge, book-to-movie adaptation, and I read Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins, and I love this book. It was a reread for me, but it still had my heart pounding the way it did when I first read it. I absolutely love the writing in this book. This is my favorite out of the three, and of course the movie is just as fantastic. I feel like it stayed true to the feelings of the book, it stayed true to the writing of the book, and I absolutely loved and adored it. The next book I had was a book with pictures, and that was Sanctum by Madeleine Roux, and this is the second book. This is a companion or a sequel novel to Asylum, and I absolutely love this book. It was the same but different than Asylum. It had to do with carnivals, and it had to do with clowns, and it was just extremely creepy, and it has, you know, a couple creepy pictures in it, and just like Asylum had a ton of pictures in it, and so did Sanctum, and this was just an interesting story. I absolutely hate carnivals, I absolutely hate clowns, and so this book kind of did scare me, simply because I don't like those things. But this was a really good book, and I was really excited to read it. The next book I had was a book that somebody picked for you, and originally this was supposed to be Wentworth Hall, but I just couldn't get into that book, so I asked my sister to pick me out a different book, and she picked out another book that we both had, and that was Hollow Pike by James Dawson. And it says Where Witchcraft Never Sleeps. This is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful cover. I love this book. It has purple pages, and this has some of my favorite things in it. It has witches, set in Great Britain, and it has a beautiful cover. So where can you go wrong? The interesting part about this book was that it has such a great mystery in it. I thought that I knew what was going on about 3 times. I was wrong each and every time. It has a lot of British slang in it, so sometimes it was hard for me to figure out what they were saying, but it was a really, really good book. I'm glad I got to read it, and I enjoyed it. The next set of books I read was for the challenge Start and Finish a Series, and for that I read Burn for Burn by Jenny Han and Chiffon Vivian, Fire with Fire by Jenny Han and Chiffon Vivian, and the book I got for review from Simon & Schuster, which was Ashes to Ashes by Jenny Han and Chiffon Vivian. I absolutely loved this trilogy. I thought this was so good. I would have to say that Burn for Burn was my favorite book out of the 3, and unfortunately Ashes for Ashes was my least favorite out of the 3. However, when you put them all together, it's such a great and unique story, and if you really look into what the story is about and delve deeper than just the top layer, it has a really good message to it, and I really, really enjoyed that, and I cannot wait to review these because I think that they need to have a review done on them because I really enjoyed this series, and I'm so glad that I was able to go ahead and read it because you guys are right. These are fantastic, fantastic books. So, and Ashes to Ashes comes out in September, so this review on this particular series will be up ASAP. The next book that I read for the challenge was a genre that you haven't read a lot this year, and that's contemporary. Contemporary is just hit or miss for me. It's not something I'm really into. However, I did get this book from Simon & Schuster for review, and this is called Trouble by Nam Pratt. And this was a really, really good book. This just reminded me of Juno and My Girl mixed together into one, and I cried during this book. I thought it was really, really, really good. I know some people are iffy about it. They don't know if they like it or not. This came out in June of 2014, but I really liked it. showcased a really good guy, you know, a really good male character in the book. You know, nice guys don't always finish last. Nice guys don't always turn into bad guys. And I really, really loved it. It's about a girl who gets pregnant in high school and all the shenanigans that go along with that. And I just really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it much more than I thought I was going to. And I actually realized through the Booktube-A-Thon that maybe I do like contemporary. I just like a certain type of contemporary book. Although light and fluffy contemporary is great, I think that I like more contemporary that has to do with realistic situations or social situations. But I do like contemporary, so I am super excited about that. So for the Booktube-A-Thon, I read Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Trouble, which is 2, Hollow Pike, which is 3, Sanctum, which is 4, Catching Fire, which is 5, Ashes to Ashes, which is 6, Fire with Fire, which is 7, and Burn for Burn, which is 8. So I also completed the last challenge of reading 7 books or 300 pages a day because I read 8 books and my total page count was, it should end up right here, hopefully. Right here is where my total page count's going to be. So that was fantastic. I had so much fun doing the Booktube-A-Thon, and I got a lot of reading done, more reading than I ever would have without it. So yeah, 2 thumbs up for that. So on top of that, those 8 books, which usually I only read about 4 to 6 books a month, so I was already over my usual grand total just with the Booktube-A-Thon. I also read a couple of other books during the month. And I read A Monster's Call by Patrick Ness, which absolutely amazing book. All-time favorite author, all-time favorite book. This book is just about a little boy who's dealing with a lot with his mom being sick. A monster comes. He thinks the monster's there for one reason. We find out why the monster's really there. And this is just a book about acceptance. Accepting the things that are happening to you in your life. Accepting the feelings that you're going through. The good, bad, and the ugly. Accepting who you are. Accepting who other people are. And just accepting your life situations. I just absolutely loved it. And I cannot gush enough about this book. Absolutely amazing. The next book that I read was My Sister Lives on the Mantelpiece by Annabelle Pitcher. Again, love this book. It was absolutely amazing. I haven't hauled this book, but I guess I'll haul it now. Here you go. And I got this book from the Book Depository, and it was just so good. It's about a boy who has 2 twin sisters. One of them dies tragically. His parents kind of can't get over the fact that she's gone. He doesn't understand why his parents kind of don't focus on him and his sister who are living, but throughout the book he goes through a lot of things himself, and he ends up coming out the other side, and he can get it. He understands where his parents are coming from because he has something happen to him, and he understands how hard it is to let go of somebody who has died, and how even though you have people who are living that you should focus on, it's hard to let go of those who are dead. So this book to me is just about understanding your family, understanding your friends, understanding how they're feeling, and acceptance. And I just really love this book. It made me cry just like A Monster's Call, and I was just like a little baby when I was reading this book. It's so good. If you guys haven't read it, read this book. The next book that I read was The Adoration of Jenna Fox. And I know this book gets a lot of mixed reviews, but I really liked it. It's about a girl who gets into an accident. She should have died, but she didn't. Why didn't she die? That's The Adoration of Jenna Fox. That's what we find out in this book. Why she didn't die, how she didn't die, and how she figures it out and what happens to her life as she's going through figuring out what in the frank is going on. So I really like this book, and it has 2 other books with it that I also have, and I plan on continuing with this series just because I think that this first book was really good. I don't even think I said who wrote this. Mary E. Pearson. She's also the author of the hugely hyped book on BookTube, Kiss of Deception. So if you like Kiss of Deception, I would give The Adoration of Jenna Fox a try, even though they're different books, because, you know, give the author's other work a try. The next book that I read was Death Swarm by Leah Cypress. I didn't particularly love this book a whole lot. The last 25% of the book really saved it. It's about a girl who has lost all of her magical powers, but she has to go help essentially her enemies. She has to help them learn how to use magic so that way they can try to defeat the Empire. Unfortunately, she gets sent to go help them learn magic and be their teacher because 2 of the other teachers have mysteriously died before her. Nobody knows how they died or how they went missing, it's just up in the air. So she doesn't know, is it somebody within the empire who's killed them? If it's somebody within the students that she's teaching that's killed them? Did they just run away? She doesn't know. So she basically thinks she's going on a suicide mission here with having to have, 4 heads to look around all around her all the time to make sure that she does not end up like her other teachers, aka dead. It sounded like such a great premise. However, the way that it was delivered, the beginning of the book was just very boring. The world building to me was not fantastic. I didn't feel like I was in the world, but there are things that develop in the last 25% of the book that really, really saved this book and made me want to continue on with the series and read the next book. So yeah, that's this one. And the last book that I read this month was The Girl Who Never Was by Skylar Dorset, and I love this cover because you can do it this way or you can do it this way. And this basically is just a girl who lives in Boston who thinks she knows everything that's going on in her life, but not really. There are some things that happen and her whole life gets turned upside down, and she realizes that she's not what she thought she was, her family's not what she thought she was, Boston isn't what she thought it was. There's this whole entire underground world that she is a part of, that she didn't know she was a part of, and there's just nonsense and shenanigans that goes down. There's people you have to save, there's people who have to try to save you, there's mystery, there's adventure, there's magic, there's just so much that happens in this book, and I just really, really, really enjoyed it. And this book helped me down my reading slump from June, because in June I read 0 books. So I was very excited and very happy to go ahead and to read this. So I would definitely pick this up if you guys are interested, because it was just a really, really good book. And the last book that I read in July was The Knife Never Letting Go, which is the first book in the Chaos Walking trilogy by Patrick Ness. And this is just an amazingly fantastic book. Now, is it a bit difficult to read? Yes, because it has overlapping thoughts, because the main character Todd can hear people's thoughts. I mean, everybody can, but the main character definitely can. So you're hearing, like, you're reading double dialogue, and they do talk a bit unrefined, so some of the language, is not complete sentences. It's not the way that we talk, but I love this book. This book was just fantastically done. Patrick Ness gets to the meat and potatoes always in his books, and the beginning of the book was just like that, meat and potatoes. Then there was a lot of development in the middle, then there was more meat and potatoes at the end of things that just kind of came up and realizations were made, and it was just fantastic. And basically Todd, was this young boy who realized that everything he's been told about himself, about his town, about his world, about everything has been a total and complete lie, and he has to figure out what is he going to do with that information. You know what I mean? All the cards have been left on the table. Is he going to make a bet, or is he going to walk away? And Todd has to make that decision, and this is Todd's story. And there's a point in the middle of the book that is just completely heartbreaking, where Todd has to make a horrifically heartbreaking decision. And through that decision, Todd really grows up and becomes a man, and he has to figure out, what is he going to do? Is he going to go left? Is he going to go right? And it was just perfectly done. I absolutely loved it. The ending left on such a huge cliffhanger that I was like, what? Stop it. And I'm waiting for this book to come in from the Book Depository, because I also ordered some other books by Patrick Ness from the Book Depository. So can't wait to get those, haul them, and continue reading on with these, because I don't want to read the next books in ebook format. I want to read the actual physical copy of the book. But if you guys have not read The Knife of Letting Go, is it a bit difficult to read? Yes. However, is it worth the read? Yes. It is just such a good book about just figuring out what are you going to do with the information you're given in life. Who are you going to be? When nobody's there to tell you who you should be or who you are, how do you determine for yourself who you should be or who you are? And it's the decisions that you make. And Todd's story was just absolutely fantastic, and I loved it. So I read 14 books in the month of July, which is amazing, because usually I only read 4 to 6 books, so 14 was like, what? And that is huge part to the Booktube-A-Thon, so I'm so excited about that. So if you guys have read any of these books, let me know in the comment box down below. If you want to read any of these books, let me know in the comment box down below. If you have any other questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in the comment box below. And thank you guys so much for coming by the Fiction Fairy and watching my July wrap-up and my Booktube-A-Thon wrap-up. Thanks so much, guys.